Hello and welcome to my new YouTube channel. My name is David Moriarty, and a bit of a background about me first. I am a Bachelor of Arts degree holder from Munster Technological University here in Kerry. I studied TV, radio, and new media for 4 years, and I graduated just October of last year. I'm a massive kind of sports buff. I watch all kinds of sports and things like that. Luckily, over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been involved in the media team for Kerry Football Club here in Tralee, League of Ireland team. Um, and I've always kind of wanted to be able to kind of do my own content and things like that. So this is what this is. First of all, this week I'm going to be doing like a review of the weekend's action that we've just seen, and then hopefully we'll progress it, and more videos will be coming out more frequently and things like that. I've tried podcasts and things, but the equipment that I had wasn't great. I feel like I'm actually at a decent enough level now, equipment wise, that I could potentially turn these videos then into podcasts for people to listen to on Spotify. But yeah, without further ado, this is the weekend review. So first of all, we'll look at soccer, and we'll go to the Premier League first. I suppose kind of this weekend you had the game on Friday between Liverpool and Aston Villa. Aston Villa breezing past Liverpool in that one. Not great for myself being a Liverpool fan, but we'll move swiftly on from that. Sunday then, where virtually all the games came from in the Premier League. The half 12 kickoff was Manchester United at home to Nottingham Forest, final Old Trafford game of the season. United went out 3-2 winners in that one, probably the better team overall, but there was obviously a very controversial decision in that one. I think Mbeumo handled the ball on the way to Cunha getting, I think, Man United's second goal. It was fairly clear and obvious. The referee went to the screen, and he decided to go with his normal on-field decision of goal. He's saying that it was accidental. No, I think with VAR and things like that, we've seen plenty of goals chalked off in times gone by of a ball flick up on someone's hand, but it could be maybe 10 or 15 yards behind play, and they'll go back and disallow the goal because of it. So it was very odd that they decided to have the goals to stand. Gary Neville was on commentary yesterday for Sky Sports, and he was flabbergasted with it for basically the rest of the game. A part of that game, anyway, that came out as well was obviously Bruno Fernandes equalled the season assist record in the Premier League with 20. He had plenty of chances to actually break the record and make it his own, but unfortunately his teammates couldn't supply it for him. A great season for Bruno Fernandes, of course, and Manchester United as they look to more than likely appoint Michael Carrick as their full-time manager. There's a lot of talk of it being maybe a 2-year deal for Michael Carrick, but we'll just have to see what kind of happens with that. You're kind of, I suppose, from a United kind of say perspective, I'm sure there's fans out there who are obviously a bit worried that it could turn into maybe an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer kind of situation where things look rosy at the start, and then maybe by January next season things could fall flat, and they'll be kind of saying to themselves, why didn't they back and get a new manager in the summer? And it could become a case that United fans will feel like they're back to square one in maybe January. But look, you never know. Michael Carrick has obviously done well there so far. Going to finish third in the Premier League after a very poor start to the season under Ruben Amorim. He came in with a lot of work to do, and he's done a superb job in fairness to him. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that one. Of course, then on Saturday we had the final day of the Scottish Premiership, where Celtic won their 56th league title under the stewardship of Martin O'Neill, who won his fourth league title in charge of Celtic. At the age of 74, it was more than likely his best league title win, and of course they have that cup final then against Dunfermline on Saturday, against Neil Lennon's side, another Celtic legend. So that'll be an interesting one on Saturday. More than likely, as I said, Martin O'Neill's best win in management, definitely. I think Obviously, everything that's transpired with Celtic this season, Wilfred Nancy or Martin O'Neill coming in an interim basis, Wilfred Nancy coming in as a permanent, that not going well, and then obviously Martin O'Neill coming back in. You kind of it kind of feels like the whole league title debacle could have been finished very quickly if Martin O'Neill just kept that position till the end of the season. But it made for some great viewing. I wouldn't be a massive Scottish Premier League supporter. I'd watch Celtic if they're on, of course, but I think the last month or so of the Scottish Premiership has been box office, especially even the last week or so. It's been very hard to keep your eyes off it. Um, so no, it's been an unreal season for Celtic. As I said, probably Martin O'Neill's best league title win for the club at the age of 74. Um, will he stay on? Probably not. But I think Celtic and the kind of board at the club need to actually really think about who they're going to bring in and make sure that they get the right candidate this time to take over from Martin O'Neill, because whoever it's going to be has a lot of big shoes to fill. Could we see the return of Ange Postecoglou? Probably not. I think he said something before that it probably wouldn't be in his best interest to go back to Celtic. He was delighted to do it once, but look, I think it was on the overlap. I think he said never say never, but he kind of seemed to rule it out fairly quickly. But look, we never know. After the final day of the Scottish Premiership, we were also treated then to the 3 o'clock kickoff between Manchester City and Chelsea in the FA Cup final at Wembley. Man City winning their eighth FA Cup thanks to a wonderful goal from Anton Semenyo. Um, Overall, a poor final, realistically, a very poor final, but Man City got the job done. It's what they needed to do. It was another trophy, possibly the last trophy for Bernardo Silva and John Stones, and maybe even Pep Guardiola. He was asked after the game um, whether what his future holds at the club, and he didn't seem to give too many hints away. He seemed to be very brief, and it did seem a bit dodgy. If you were to ask me, I do think he could be going in the summer. But who do you bring in to replace him as the other side? A lot of talk about Enzo Maresca, who obviously was with Chelsea, Manchester City's final opponents on Saturday. Of course, look for Chelsea. That's, I think, a seventh consecutive Wembley domestic final loss. I could be wrong there, but I think it's something along them lines. Um, 7 losses in a row at Wembley isn't great for Chelsea. I know. Look, they had a good summer winning the Club World Cup. Got some good players in. I thought they were kind of definitely about to build a strong challenge for the league and other kind of domestic cups and things like that. But it's obviously fallen to the wayside. I think Enzo Maresca leaving there was a bit of a shambles. I don't think many of the Chelsea supporters were too happy when he did depart. Um, but also for the lows of lows for Chelsea fans losing that cup final on Saturday, they were immediately greeted to a brand new manager, Xabi Alonso, former Liverpool and Bayern Munich and Real Madrid player, former Bayer Leverkusen and Real Madrid manager. Obviously, he was with Real Madrid this season. Didn't go very well for him. He got the boot there. But look, you're managing Real Madrid. I think probably too soon of a job for him in his managerial career, because Real Madrid, as we know, are just full of egos, personalities. I think the fans there are very hard to please, as we all kind of know. But in fairness, he did an unbelievable job at Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen went undefeated in the title-winning season. The only game he lost all year was the Europa League final in Dublin, where they lost to Atlanta. I think it was 3-0 or something. Ademola Lookman getting a hat trick there. Um, that was the only game they lost that season. Obviously, then he got the job then Real Madrid then kind of realistically off the back of that, there was a lot of talk in the last week or so that Alonso, after the Real Madrid job had departed him, that he was kind of waiting for either Liverpool or Manchester City, because obviously things with Arne Slot now at Liverpool aren't too great at the moment, and obviously the future of Pep Guardiola is kind of up in the air. Not many people know what's going on there. So supposedly he was waiting for both clubs to kind of maybe make a move. Realistically, as a Liverpool fan, am I annoyed at Xabi Alonso going to Chelsea? Slightly, but at the end of the day, the man's a manager. He can't be waiting around forever for a job, and I think the actual challenge now that he has at Chelsea is an unbelievable one. It's an unbelievable challenge, but one that I think is very similar to Bayer Leverkusen in a way. Bayer Leverkusen, I suppose, kind of have had a good while since their glory days, and I suppose winning a league title and things like that. Chelsea, I think, have last won their last league title maybe 2017, I want to say, under Antonio Conte. So it's nearing 10 years, which I suppose, since you could say since Roman Abramovich came into the club, it's a long while for Chelsea to be waiting for a league title. So yeah, I think he has a big job in his hands there. But look, I'm slightly conflicted in a way. Do I want him to succeed? Not entirely, because obviously they're going to be a direct kind of opponent and rival for Liverpool heading into next season. I don't exactly want him to do unbelievable, but I don't want him to fail either. Jeez, no, I definitely don't want him to fail. Um, so look, for Xabi Alonso and for Chelsea, seems like a good match. Apparently he's been given free rein as well on transfers. I think a lot of the players who Chelsea have brought in recently, I couldn't really see Enzo Maresca being a massive fan of Liam Delap before he came in, but he obviously came in. No, they have made some good signings recently. I think Estevao, Joe Pedro, players like that, I think are going to bring a lot to Chelsea in the future. But overall, I think it's probably a match made in heaven for Xabi Alonso and Chelsea at the moment. Now we round off this weekend review of the GAA action on Sunday with the two provincial finals, of course, in Leinster and Ulster. And first we're going to start off with Leinster, as Westmeath won their first Leinster title in 22 years. Westmeath had a massive turnaround in the second half. They were down by 5 points at one stage. They were leading for stages as well in the first half, but Dublin kind of clawed their way back in. But they were 5 points down in the second half and absolutely blew Dublin out of the water for a good 5-10 minute period, and probably should have won it in normal time, but Dublin clawed their way back to bring it to the distance. And of course, Monaghan then absolutely destroyed Dublin. I think it was Monaghan scored 2-6 to Dublin's 2 points in extra time to win the Leinster title for the first time since Paddy O'Shea helped them lift it back in 2004. So an unbelievable day in Westmeath, or in Croke Park for Westmeath. I thought Senan Baker was absolutely phenomenal. I think he was number 25, came on. I wouldn't say late into the game, it might have been 35 minutes in to the game. Was absolutely superb when he came on. Showed real calmness. I think the lad is only 21 years of age to be playing Croke Park in your county's biggest game in over 20 years. I think it's he really showed himself. A savage amount of kudos there, I suppose, when he came on, scoring 4 points, as well as Matthew Whitaker as well scoring 4 points for Westmeath. Was a massive turnover, in fairness. As for Dublin, Cormac Costello scored 8 points and was a massive part of their turnaround. He was unreal, as he always is, in fairness to him. But Dublin just didn't have the I suppose the kind of fight that they always had. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of years gone by. You always kind of maybe go down to, you might be leading Dublin by 3 or 4 points. They bring it back and then they just blow you out of the water. But it was completely on the opposite side yesterday. And Westmeath were a good bit ahead of Dublin. Dublin clawed it back, and then Dublin just fell to the wayside. I think the goal they conceded in extra time, the first goal that they conceded in extra time, was just terrible in fairness. A terrible one to concede, and I think it just totally took the wind out of Dublin. Then at that stage, I think they just knew that it wasn't going to be their day when that went in. Um, but no, in fairness, unbelievable day for Westmeath. As for the Ulster final, then Armagh won their first Ulster title in 18 years. Monaghan tried their best and clawed back a 7 point deficit, but ultimately Armagh had enough for them. Oisin Connaughty was insane as per usual, and Conor Turbitt was a massive part of their winning title game yesterday. For Monaghan, I suppose, look, they tried their best. There was instances they were up by maybe 3 or 4 points early in the game, and they were tipping away nicely, but overall you could always see that Armagh were going to actually turn them over. Um, when it went to extra time, obviously you never know and things like that, but Armagh just created that distance, like Westmeath, I suppose, in the Leinster final. They created that distance, and you can never see Monaghan coming back from it. Armagh going out 9 point winners in the end, fairly, I wouldn't say run in the middle game, definitely not. But when it went to extra time, it was just Armagh just kept ticking over, kept playing their game. They still had plenty left in the tank. I think they could have played maybe another half an hour if they wanted to, whereas Monaghan probably had all their energy wiped out in the first 17 minutes. So yeah, so you Armagh and Westmeath collecting the provincial titles this weekend. So your four provincial winners then are Kerry from Munster. In Connacht you had Roscommon also last week. Then you Westmeath in Leinster, and Ulster was won by Armagh. So yeah, that finishes up our review for this weekend. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do a few more videos like this, and as the weeks go on, more content will be put out during the week. It won't be just reviews and maybe previews and things like that. But if you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, like, and obviously share to other people. Be much appreciated. And see you again next week.